Hello everybody, I am honored and happy to be presenting in this prestigious meeting. My topic today is how digital dentistry has changed my prosthetic treatment planning. And for those of you who don't know me, I am from Florence, Italy. And before I start, allow me to thank Dr. Marco Tallarico for involving me in this beautiful meeting. And of course, Osstem Europe and Micerium, who is the Italian dealer. I like every time to start with this slide. Everyone wants to be successful until they know what it actually takes to get there. And this is why I would like to start this lecture for you as an introduction. Digital technology is influencing already basically all fields of medicine, and the same is for dentistry. And my objective tonight is to share with you how digital planning simplified in the last years my treatment steps, and how this made my protocols more profitable for my patients and for the team. What I would like to focus with you tonight, and I really care about this, is that I will only talk about feasible technology that is available today. So I'm not talking about technology that will impress you, like devices that are very expensive that I'm trying but are not available to everyday dentistry. So the digital era has impacted my practice as far as digital steps, clinical steps. It allowed me to save some time, it allowed me to save money, and also allowed me to access to different materials. And the fields where I actually take advantage of technology are several. In the specific, there are 8. So I will not be able to focus on all of them, but I would like to underline the specific advantages, for example, with the intraoral scans. In fact, especially when you treat patients that have increased teeth mobility, digital impression allows us to have precise models that are not affected by the viscosity of the material, that will actually, when you record the impression, will move the teeth. Therefore, as a consequence, you have an altered model. So nowadays we are able, by using 3D printers, to print basically all the models very fast. And this is very, very useful because also, especially when you want to utilize the technology for recording impressions with braces for orthodontic treatment, this allows us, as you can see here in the slide, to take very precise recording data, and also you avoid having the tears on the impression materials. And also digital photography allows us to record the steps, the distance, and so on. Another field is when we want to digitally facially generate the treatment planning. And this is a topic that is very, very important for me, because I truly believe that the planning should involve 80% of our time, while the execution should be just 20%. And this means that we have to plan properly before we start our treatment, because it is exactly like a house. When you buy a house, first of all, you hire an architect, then you go to an engineer, and then it starts the craftsman starts actually to work on the execution. So what does this mean? Basically, the design anticipate the planning that anticipate the execution. So sometimes as dentists, we are more prone to start the treatment and to start grinding teeth or place implants while we don't have a proper overall treatment planning that does not follow a design. So this is very, very important. So I always say design before planning, before execution. And there are two areas where this is very, very important. I will not go over how to motivate with digital dentistry and engage emotions, but I would like to focus on how and why we utilize this in order to generate the treatment planning. So I usually start with clinical photos, and I select the one that has open teeth, big smile, and separated arches. And I use this as a virtual Facebook. So basically, as Christian Kochman with the Digital Smile Design taught us, we are going to utilize this face photo to align and select the horizontal occlusal plane. And this will allow us to calibrate this model, which is now in black and white because it's not calibrated. You can see that in the mouth, the occlusal plane orientation is different to the one that we have in the clinical photo. So our objective is actually to utilize some techniques in order to align properly the intraoral photo, and actually on this photo we can define the occlusal plane, we can define the midline and the length of the arch, and we can, if we want, design the 2D wax up, the digital wax up. This is very important because, if you start with this photo, for example, how do you define the occlusal plane, the incisal display, the gingival margins? Where are the gingival margins? The teeth proportions, shapes, and position. So before you start extracting teeth and delivering complete immediate denture, or placing implants and delivering immediate loading provisionals, we should decide where to place these teeth. Okay, the space distribution, the space appropriation. So we have to start from a smile, but also the smile sometimes is not good enough, and we have to start even farther from the face. And this is always the case in aesthetic treatments. So I take the photo with a big smile. In this case, does not have separated teeth. I draw some lines, which are the references, and I enlarge the same photo with the face. And by utilizing some calibration lines, which are in this case yellow, red, and green, we transfer these references on the models. I don't have time now to go in the details of this, but this will allow me to have always on the model, on the articulator, a reference plane, reference lines that allow me to deliver with no interpretation, with no adjustment, and one appointment, the occlusal plane and the proper provisional. So it is exactly like a house. We need to design, and this designing should anticipate the performing, because the performing is anticipated by the treatment plan, as we said, as is anticipated by the digital smile design. And to tell you the truth, nowadays, I do this in my lab. In this case, I am in Massimiliano Pisa lab, my technician in Florence. And here I'm utilizing Exocad. Now, I don't have time because the video is 16 minutes. It's not edited. But here I can show you that basically I am designing in few minutes full anterior sextans wax up in just few minutes. So here you see that I actually am designing the wax up in order to deliver the mock-up very, very fast. So I can do this way more fast than I would do in wax. Okay, so digital technology in this case allow me to be very, very fast, and not only that, but allow me to discuss with the technician my treatment plan, my function, my dental materials, the amount of tooth reduction that I have to perform in order to match the color thickness, the color shade, the restorative thickness, and the color of the substrate of the tooth. So it is very important to work with the technician. And I utilize this in order to prepare a digital smile design appointment, which is called the second appointment, the wow appointment, the mock-up. So first I start from a photo, I deliver the simulation with the computer, and then we do a mock-up clinically. And this is according to the concept of the facially driven treatment plan described by Frank Spear, John Coyce, Gerard Shish, and others. And this is to show you a real quick protocol done very easy by means of taking few photos, selecting the correct angle of the axis of the face, enlarging the photo as I've shown before, transferring the lines, calibration lines to the intraoral photo, and then designing the 2D wax-up in order to anticipate the 3D wax-up and provide the technician with a very detailed protocol and informations in order to deliver the wax-up to the office with the silicone indexes in order to perform the wax-up. And to be honest, nowadays I utilize all this presentation and all the, for example, the smartphone, in order to prepare a video for the patient that is actually engaging the emotions, as I said, is actually providing an experience for the patient in order to explain that what we are doing in the office is different from what they will get in other offices. And this is the video that I deliver to the patient. It says basically a story. It says basically a story of what I have done, in the backstage when I prepare the mock-up. So basically I resume here what I see. Here it is in Italian, I apologize for this. So I start with the description, and as you can see here in the video, the patient is very reluctant to smile. She's very shy, she's not comfortable with the smile, so she has trouble. You see here I'm asking her to smile, but she's not actually able to smile. So basically I describe here that I study the face, the expressions, the way of smiling, and then I will show her basically all the steps that I've done in order to deliver the new smile of Julia, and always provide photos because they are way more emotional. Okay, so here I show her the mock-up. These are the photos of the mock-up, and this will help me engaging very, very carefully and very, very emotionally the attention of the patient. And here you can see the mock-up when I try the phonetics, and then the face, and remember the difference now. Now look at how she is smiling. She is very comfortable. She is very happy. She is watching herself on the computer. She's not watching herself on the mirror. Never give the mirror to the patient for these reasons. This is very, very important, again, because this will motivate the patient towards your treatment. And without technology, this is way, way more difficult. So it helped me applying very carefully and very deeply the concept of the treatment planning, because I can discuss the treatment planning much better. I can motivate the patient much better to the treatment plan. Now, due to the time, I am squeezing 4 more areas where I actually utilize the surgical planning, the surgical treatment planning, the surgical treatment execution, the digital designing, and the digital manufacturing. All the same, I will address all these 4 steps by sharing a couple of cases. So this patient, for example, is a patient that requires an implant because on number 21, She has external root resorption, as you can see here in the radiograph. She has done already to hide the color of the root. In the past, by previous dentists, this patient was referred to me from the northern part of Italy just for the implant placement. Okay, I worked on her with the collaboration with Roberto Perasso and Monica Emelio, two dentists from Alessandria, northern part of Italy. And as you can see here, previous dentists, before they went to Alessandria, to the office, they tried already to thicken the buccal tissue on number 21 to hide the root discoloration. As you can see here, we took the digital impression in order to evaluate, and actually you can actually measure on the STL the thickness of the tissue and draw the profiles of the tissue. And also very important is the digital planning on the 3D. So all this, I do everything myself in the office. This is an old case that I did with Implant, the software Implant. And here you can see that I am evaluating three-dimensionally the position of the implant on the sagittal plane. Here I can enlarge and I can evaluate the amount of buccal bone that I have left and the palatal bone that I have left. And also, very important is to be able to evaluate this on the three-dimensional. Here you can see that I am looking at the CBCT from behind. Here there is the the incisor canal. You can see it here. So here is the root, and we are just 1 millimeter from the apex of number 22. And over here we have this huge hole, which is the incisal canal on the palate, on the center of the palate. So digital technology help us treatment planning. Without navigation here, it is impossible without surgical guide to deliver precisely positioned implant. In this case, I automatically extracted the tooth and I decided to place an Osstem TS3 implant with immediate placement after extraction and one stage approach. So here you can see the implant placed, and this is the implant after healing. And at this time, Roberto Perasso started the Invisalign treatment that allowed the patient and his wife, Monica Emelio, that took care of the orthodontics, of the prosthodontics, to deliver the provisional here. And nowadays she is in the provisional phase. You see that the gingival margins are even. She still has some increased thickness because of the connective tissue graft, but mostly interesting is the radiograph. The radiograph is very interesting because, as you can see here you can see that we are quite close to the lateral, and the profile of the incisor canal is very, very close to the implant. If you go with no navigation into the hole, you will hit for sure the incisor canal, and basically part of the implant would have been suspended in air. So here you see that the implant has been a little bit, the apex of the implant has been moved a little bit distal. Of course, this allows us, here you can see how the simulation of the implant placement. Now, of course, digital dentistry have other advantages. Digital dentistry allowed us to have, for example, industrial materials, as I mentioned before, and quality control. Now, let's focus on these two topics before going into the speed of production and prosthetic design and manufacturing. Digital technology allowed us to access new materials that are very technically sophisticated and allow us to have some mechanical properties that are very, very interesting. In this case, for example, we are utilizing PEEK that is very light, very resistant, very flexible, but yet providing enough resistance for the prosthetic. We can use titanium, we can use PMMAs, we can use zirconia. And nowadays, if you have a technician that is properly trained to utilize this technology, precision is not an issue anymore. Okay. Speed of production. Here are some examples. The 3D printing, for example. I have 2 3D printers in the lab that allow me to deliver and designing the splint, for example, night guards, and I can deliver this type of restoration in 4 hours. Either I use the milling machine, either I mill the night guard, or I print with the 3D printer the night guard. Either or, I can deliver a very, very quality type of product, very fast, that is very, very convenient for patient acceptance. Or I can scan 3 implants, for example, in this case, and within 30 minutes designing, here with the in-lab software, I can design 3 units provisional that very, very fast can be milled with a machine or 3D printed, even though with a 3D printer the material is not very nice yet. The material is not there for 3D printing, but this provisional has been delivered in less than 3 hours with TeleCAD. Of course, very, very convenient as well. Otherwise, we can take a single type of restoration like this. I can prepare, I can do a digital impression. In 15 minutes, I am able to deliver and to design the wax up, put it in the milling machine, and in 60 minutes, I can have a monolithic restoration that is very, very nicely surface stained and allow me to deliver a very, very resistant, very, very predictable type of restorations in just 3 hours. And as I mentioned, technology allows us to design new type of restorations and with new materials. Before going into this topic, into this case, that is my last case, I would like to share with you how I did this type of design in the past years. And this case, for example, is a very old case. In the mandible, we had to place some implants in the posterior, do some class 5 restorations, redo some restorations on the lower right. Upper arch, there were 2-3 teeth maintainable, but in the overall treatment plan design was not reasonable to maintain. So we placed the implants. It's not the topic of myself to describe the surgical phase here, but just a slide to show you how in the past it was sophisticated. Here you see titanium abutments covered with AGC, gold copings that had to be checked with the framework very precisely, and then another framework that was designed in resin, then was milled out of titanium. Then single units were fabricated because I wanted to deliver a very nice restoration, very predictable, and I wanted to deliver single units restoration. So an impression of the bar, of the metal bar, has been performed. And here you can see all the issues related with trying the materials, trying the framework, cut the framework, solder the framework, and verifying the soldering with some resin. Very sophisticated and complicated. Here you see the restoration in the model, the final restoration. Very, very demanding for the technician, very expensive for the dentist, and consequently very expensive for the patient. Nowadays, with 3D technology, we can do an amazing type of restorations. Here, for example, full arch on implants, either fixed made of zirconia or titanium, or we can have removable type of overdenture, so with double bars, with attachments, very sophisticated. And as far as treatment, today I record a CBCT, I record an STL file, I record some photos, very simple photo protocol, and I can go in outsource if I am not willing to design myself the case. And in this case, I'm providing the documentation to the Digital Smile Design Planning Center in Madrid, which I collaborate since many, many years. So I provide some photos of the patients, some details, some video clips I can deliver. And again, also in this case, it was very difficult to record the impressions, so I had to record digital impressions because the teeth were so mobile that it would have been impossible with alginate, or even less with silicone, to record a nice situation. So then the Digital Planning Center provide me with a simulation. I'm going very fast. A simulation of the design of the occlusal outcome, and provides me with an overlapping of the 3D design on the face. Provides me with keynote presentation, and then when it is time, we can plan together with the tech guys in the planning center the position of the implant. And here the clinic is actually the owner of the designing of the treatment. There is the dentist that should be the one that actually selects how many implants to place and check the position of the implants and check the number of the implants. In this case, I'm adding one implant on each side. And what actually the planning center provides me is with a surgical guide that allow me to place the base with horizontal pins and never move the base during the whole surgery. So this guide is called click guide. So you see on the same base I can put different devices in top, and also the provisional is already prepared with aligning devices, and I can go farther directly to the surgery. Here you can see that I have placed the base, and then I position implants. These are Osstem implants, TS3 implants. I place them flapless where it was possible without remodeling some bone. In other areas, I had to deliver some bone remodeling. In the anterior areas, I had to remove and place the implants a little bit subcrestal, as you can see here. So very easy treatment. Very predictable because the guide is very, very stable. I can deliver the temporary cylinder. As you can see here, I'm not utilizing all the implants, and I'm putting some rubber dam in order to protect the open flap. So I place, you see here, I place this type of verification jig, and then I deliver the provisional. Here you can see that the implants are perfectly aligned on the planned provisional. The provisional has already all the holes, and here you can see that the implants are exactly in the position. So at this point, it's very easy to reline the provisional. Same thing in the lower. In this case, the teeth were so flared, there were such big undercuts that I had to grind the teeth before, very fast, very briefly. I left the occlusal part of the teeth because this allowed me to seat the surgical base. Before placing this, I utilized the teeth in order to have a stable position of the surgical guide. Then once the guide is placed and the pins are inserted, I can remove the aligning device and open the flap. Here again, open the flap, remove the bone where it is needed. Here you can see the procedure. Here the surgical guide and the positioning of TS3 Osstem implants. In this case as well, I only utilized, in this case I used all the implants, the 6 implants that I placed. Here you see some of them were subcrestal, some of them were a little bit exposed, but then with the flap, we deliver the conic abutment. verification, realigning the provisional, protecting the flap with rubber dam, and utilizing composite in order to block the temporary cylinder in the provisional. This provisional was the first one that I tried with the 3D printer. As you can see here, it's not very nice. It's a not very nice material. I had to work quite a lot on modifying the color, and this is the outcome of the provisional. After 4 hours, I was able to, since the patient walked in until the patient walked out, with 2 arches immediately loaded on implants in 4 hours. And this is the big advantage of technology. Big advantage of technology. This would not be possible without digital planning, digital execution. After healing, this is the situation after 4 months. In those days, I was not trusting yet digital impression for full arch on implants, so I joined the implants, I recorded the position, I made a PVS silicone impression, and I delivered the temporary cylinder. Now the issue is now to record and be sure that the position of the implant are proper, so I utilize this stone index aligned with the composite. In this case, we analyzed the aesthetic with Antonio Corradini, and we did the recording with the face hunter, and by utilizing this device, we were able to transfer all the information to the digital software. And very, very interesting, because we can see three-dimensionally the teeth, the face, the digital articulator, and this will allow us to prepare a very nice provisional, a second provisional. It's a mock-up that will be delivered to the patient, and the patient will stay with this provisional for several days, maybe a couple of weeks, 3 weeks. We utilize this to record some photos, and as I said, new technology, new materials allow us to go with zirconia structures. As you can see here, they are only layered on the buccal, and Antonio did an amazing job. He's very, very talented with monolithic zirconia and with layering zirconia, and this is the final outcome of the patient. Again, very, very impressive. Patient is very happy. And as you can see here, the transformation is incredible. Again, summarizing the steps from day one, first visit, then after 2 weeks, we deliver the fixed provisional, and we place the implants, and we deliver the first provisional. After 4 months, we make the final impression. After another month, we deliver the provisional, and after 1 month, we deliver the final restoration. And basically, 7 months from start to end. I am done with the presentation. I want to underline that the biggest impediment to a company's future success is the past success. This has been said by the CEO of PayPal, and I really think that we shouldn't rely on our experience only, on our success. We should go further, we should go forward, even though we know it will cost some effort. But this is how we like to be better, we like to do more, and I would like to thank all of you again for the attention. I would like to thank again Marco Talarico and Osstem for the kind invitation. I'm here for your Q&A session, ready to answer your questions. Thank you very much for the attention.